Good morning, Dwayne here, Dry Creek Wrangler School. In here in Kentucky, it's cold this morning, a lot of snow, and it's time to feed. We're going to feed the horses. So I want to just do a short video on different ways of feeding. I did a short one just a few days ago where we rolled around bale of hay off against the fence. Not ideal. And here's another way of doing it. Now the problem we have here is, first off, we're renting this Amish farm while we're trying to buy a place about 3 miles away up on the ridge. So we're kind of limited to how much we can set up. Not only that, but we got here in January during the year of one of the worst winters Kentucky's had in a while, I guess. And so we're just, we're trying to survive. We're trying to get the horses fed. The pasture is kind of frozen right now, but it's a super mess. I can't drive out there. I'll bury the truck up to the axles. So there's mud everywhere, and I'm trying to get hay to the horses. I went down to the feed store. I got a round bale of hay, and I asked them to set it up upright on here. And so we did this last night. So what I'm doing, how we're feeding today, if you take a round bale of hay, for those of you who don't know, that hay is baled rolling up, okay? So this is rolled like this. Now I've got the strap on there just kind of holding it in place so it doesn't completely fall apart. And what we're going to do is I'm going to peel some of this off, and I'm going to put some hay over right here, and then Mama's going to drive the truck down a little ways, and I'm going to do some more. So I'm going to spread hay down the fence here. Now, if you do this, if you find a place and you start peeling it, and you just peel it and peel it and peel it, it's actually pretty easy to do. There's a lot less wastage. We come here, we put this over the fence. If it's up close to the fence, they can't stomp on it, pee on it so much. They're not leaning over the fence. There you go, Josie. Mares. And we're just going to work our way around this bale of hay and peel it off. Now out west, I've done this on ranches. They set the big square bales up on the bed of the flatbed. We would do that and then flake big flakes off the back of the truck for cattle. Kind of the same idea. All right, kids. I think it was 17 degrees this morning. My favorite sights. Cold, snowy morning, and the horses come up, start eating fresh hay. Three, four, five. So now you want to keep peeling it off all the way around, otherwise it'll wind up collapsing on itself and then you'll have trouble. All right, Mama, you want to pause for a minute and move on down the fence?
Okay.
For folks who get on and ask me, Dwayne, I want to start ranch life. I want to start farm life. I want to start having my own livestock. Folks who are wanting to get into homesteading, that's a big thing now. Your best asset is your mind and your attitude. Because things are not always going to be, Josie, they just keep running you further down the fence, don't they? Things are not always going to be ideal. So when you wake up and you say, man, we've had 3 days of deluge, everything is covered in mud, the mud's ankle deep. I've got to be able to feed the horses, but the way I normally do it won't work. You've got to keep a good attitude, and you've got to say, all right, now I need to think outside the box. What's another way of doing this? And that's part of the satisfaction of it. Running into a problem and knowing that if you don't get that problem fixed, your horses or your chickens, whatever you got, that's your horse, by the way.
Mine?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Mine's down here. That is not Jubilee. Thank you.
Oh, is that Trace?
Look. That's Jubilee.
Oh, that's Jubilee.
She's over here minding her own sweet little business.
Trace just keeps running Josie further down the fence.
Yeah, they all do.
This bale will get a little topsy once I get enough peeled off of it, so I'm keeping that strap on there so it don't fall over. But anyhow, I take pleasure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, we don't have to go any further down. We'll just feed them good right here. And seeing things that are in my care well taken care of. Standing there, eating and contented. So I'll just go ahead. About 3 miles from here, on these ridges back up here, there's a farm that we're in the process of trying to get. Mama and I want that to be our last move. We were hoping that's what we were going to get in Wyoming, but it wasn't. It's a wonderful place, about 37 acres. Got a small house and a barn, pasture and woods. It's what we've been striving for years. So we're just trying to get through the winter right here. The winter has been aggressive all over the United States this year. Now, one of the difficulties, if you feed your horse like this, one of the difficulties is knowing how much to feed. Like I talked about in that little short feeding video I did where I broke open the bales of hay in Wyoming a couple months ago, I said you want to feed 15 to 20 pounds of hay per horse per day. So you figure your bales are 45 to 50 pounds. So you can say a half a bale per horse, all those little square bales per day. And you got 6 horses, and it's pretty easy to figure out, but this is a little harder. So you're going to have a little bit more tricky figuring out how much hay to feed the horses. And when it's this cold and this snowy, just wait, how much do I feed them? Feed them enough. Let's do some reality check, okay? These horses, I mean, I bought her as a foal and she's not papered or anything. I paid $500 for her, okay? This horse here, you're not gonna get him for less than $10,000. That horse isn't mine, but I paid $4 for him. I paid $10 for that horse. I got a reason I'm telling you this. I paid $10 for that horse over there. Okay, so I don't know, you do the math. This bale of hay costs $64. Okay, I'm not going to scrimp on a $64 bale of hay so that 10, 20, 30, I don't know, $50,000 in horses can go a little bit hungry because I want to save on hay. All right. Sometimes our priorities get a little skewed. Feed them as much as you think, okay, that's probably about enough, and then feed them some more. Now, if you're in a situation where you can keep track, if they go off and leave a bunch and waste a bunch, the next time feed a little bit less. Josie, they done run you further down the fence, didn't they? You just need to be meaner. You're the Mustang. You can whoop all these. You can whoop all these domestics.
She's a sweetie.
Huh?
She's a sweetie.
She is a sweetie. Trace isn't normally a dominant horse. He must be hungry this morning because he's like a hog at a trough. He just keeps moving her on down. The feed store, the Mennonite feed store up the road where I got this hay, and this is good hay, it's closed. So I can just run up there and grab another bale. I'm just gonna make sure. It's supposed to be colder tomorrow than it was today. I think tomorrow morning it's supposed to be 8 degrees. So we're just gonna keep feeding these guys really good.
Explain why you don't just put that whole hay bale out in the pasture for them to just eat on then.
Well, 2 reasons, like I said. First off, the main was I can't get out there without burying the truck because of the mud.
You could push it over the fence. Why don't you just, like somebody who's getting started needs to know, why can't I just back up and push it over the fence?
Well, you're going to waste a lot. You're going to waste, they're going to stand around it, they're going to pull it, they're going to get it down, they're going to stomp in it. These horses would have that bale gone. If I dumped that out there, they'd have that bale gone or wasted in 2 days. In 2 days, it'd be gone. And so, you know, I talked about we want to make sure they have plenty of hay. We don't want to be cheap and tight on the hay, but at the same time, we don't want to just waste it. And it creates a bog in this kind of weather, especially. It creates a bog and just a muck hole right where they're at, because they just stand in one spot and poop and pee and eat and stomp, and it just makes a mess. Now in the summertime, when everything's dry, you can get away with that. And you put the hay, you just move the hay to different spots as you go. But right now, like I said, we're still dealing with, I mean, not here where we're at, but in parts of Kentucky last week, I mean, there's been flooding. And we didn't flood here, but man, we sure had enough rain. We went out and looked, and the rivers and creeks and stuff were way high, way out of banks. And so, you know, and so we didn't actually flood up here. But it is super wet. And I'm gonna be honest, I just keep forking hay over here because I enjoy the heck out of this. All right, I just enjoy it. I want them to just be able to just stand here in the cold and just contented, happy graze.
Mouse,
I don't know, for me it's a beautiful sight.
Jubilee's happy. Quigley's happy. Peso's happy. Trace is happy. Josie's happy. Well, maybe not so happy. Dwayne, what's your opinion of a feed trough, like one of those hay rings?
Hay ring is better than just setting the bale of hay out there raw. You put it in a ring, it contains the hay. There's 2 different types of hay rings. There's hay rings that are made for cattle, and there's hay rings that are made specifically for horses. You have the ring, then they have bars that come up. Cattle, a lot of times the hay ring will have a loop that comes up, and the cattle puts their heads through there and goes down. You don't want that for horses because they rub their mane out. A horse will come up and down, and then up and down, and they can come in between them. Otherwise, you get a horse, get their head in there, and they spook, and they come up and they pick the hay ring up and take it off with them. If you're going to use a hay ring, make sure you get one designed especially for a horse. They're useful. I mean, you know, used them for years in a lot of different places. But again, you've got to be able to drive the hay out to the hay ring out and get out to where you're at.
Yeah, you couldn't do
even
that
if
right
I had
now.
one here, I couldn't use it.
Yeah, makes sense. I'll get some of this off the fence and the ground.
All right, well, this
Okay.
is turning into a boring video. Mama, if you want to pull up a little bit more, I'm going to go up there a bit higher and put some out
Okay.
for Josie. Just make a little bit more room,
Yeah,
and
she's
then we'll be done. They won't let her in.
okay.
So we'll just spread out and make a little more room. Anyhow, hope there's a little bit of entertainment for you, a little bit of teaching, and be logical, be reasonable, be safe, have fun, and take care of your livestock. Be flexible. If you can't do stuff the way you normally do it, figure out another way to do it. But, you know, in the words of a great philosopher of our time, get her done. We'll talk to y'all next time.